What is going on, Raiders? Soda Dragon here. Welcome and hope you guys are doing well. So today I'm going to show you guys the easiest and most budget way to create either an unkillable team or a block damage team for your Iron Twins Stage 15. Now the coolest thing about these comps is that you don't need multiple unkillable or multiple block damage champs. So if you're building an unkillable team like I'm going to show you, all you need is one unkillable champion. And if you're building a block damage team, all you need is one block damage champion. That is it. So guys, for me to explain the team to you, let's just take a step back for a second. Now, there was a time, a long time ago, when people used to mess around or experiment with multiple Painkeepers in order to create their unkillable clan boss teams. But that multiple Painkeeper thing fell by the wayside years ago. Well, since Selena on Reddit has revived this triple Painkeeper strategy and used it specifically for the Iron Twins. So I'm gonna link to his post in the pinned comment. Make sure to check it out. So here is who he uses for his block damage team. So he uses one Rosh card and 3 Painkeepers and a DPS. And that is all you need for a full block damage team against stage 15 of the Iron Twins. So this is pretty cool to me for a few reasons. Firstly, because we're reviving an old strategy, that triple Painkeeper strategy. It's pretty cool that that's making a comeback, or at least it can now. And secondly, we're reviving the use of an old champ, Rosh card. He's an old school champ. A lot of people probably have him. He's probably a Vault Guardian at this point, but you know what? He works really well in this comp. So reviving an old strategy and an old champ is excellent to me. Now, some of you guys might be wondering at this point, well, what about Helicath? Can't we substitute in Helicath for Rosh cards, since pretty much that block damage is the same? It's 2 turns of block damage over your whole team on a booked 4-turn cooldown. Well, using Helicath is going to be problematic for this triple Painkeeper comp. Here's why. Because not only does Helicath cast that block damage, but when it falls off, he'll buff your team, your individual teammates, with that increased defense buff. Now, what do we know about this boss when we buff our team? Well, if we buff our team and the boss is not under a decreased speed debuff, it boosts his turn meter. So really, this block damage skill of Helicath is not exactly the same as Rosh cards, because he casts increased defense with it as well once it expires. And this messes up the speed tune. It's going to give the boss too much turn meter because we don't have a decreased speed debuff against the boss. Now guys, I'm not saying it's impossible for Helicath to work for this triple Painkeeper comp, but the speeds are going to have to be different, probably faster, since we're boosting the boss's turn meter more. Now I know what some of you guys are saying, well, if Helicath doesn't work and I don't have Rosh card, are there any other options here? Firstly guys, Maneater here is not going to work, unfortunately, with the speeds I'm going to show you. Why? Because Maneater, yes, does have that unkillable for 2 turns over your whole team, but booked is on a 5-turn cooldown. Notice for Rosh card, it was on a 4-turn cooldown, and even Helicath. So no, this isn't going to work. At least you can't just slot him in easily with the same speeds, because he does have that extra cooldown. But don't worry guys, after some thought, I have come up with an accessible option for you guys. So guys, by accessible, I don't mean you can go out and grab that champ tonight. I hope you guys understand that. What I mean by accessible is eventually you will be able to. Okay, some of you guys might be able to grab him tonight, but others may not. But eventually this champ is available to you. That's what I mean by accessible. So who is our accessible substitute for Rosh card going to be? Well, he's actually in the same faction as Rosh card here, and he is going to be good old Saint Nick. So what's good about Sir Nick? Well, he casts that unkillable buff over your whole team for 2 turns on a booked 4-turn cooldown. Exactly what we need. And of course, you can get this guy from the token trader. Every single person can eventually get this guy. So once again, he is accessible to everybody eventually, if you play this game long enough. So that being said, would I recommend that you guys rush out tonight, unbind your champs, and get your Sir Nick to start making this unkillable team? No, I actually wouldn't, and here's why. Because once again, Playerm has said that they're going to nerf unkillable somehow for the Iron Twins. Now, specifically, they mentioned single person unkillable like Paragon. But once again, since we don't know the details of how they are going to nerf unkillable, I would recommend holding off on building any unkillable teams right now. So block damage teams, that's fine. But as far as an unkillable team or a partial unkillable team, let's say you're using a Maneater and a Rosh card, so like a hybrid team, I would recommend holding off right now until we know the exact details on how they're going to nerf Unkillable. But if Plarium's going to hold to their word and nerf single Unkillable but not team Unkillable, they're going to find a good way to do this, then yes, this is a viable option for you. This is a team, right? We're not doing a single Unkillable strategy. We're not doing a Paragon type thing. It's a full team of 5. They're all alive for the whole run. So yeah, technically this should work. Plarium hasn't said they'll nerf team Unkillable, only single Unkillable. So guys, just keep this in the back of your head as an option. It's something available to you. Once again, once we know the details of how they're going to nerf Unkillable, to make sure that this team would still work after the nerf. But if it still does, then yes, you have this option available to you. Everybody does, to unbind their legendaries, go get Sir Nick and build their Unkillable team with only 3 other rares, Pain Keepers, for your stage 15 of the Iron Twins. And probably the best thing about any of these teams, really any Unkillable or block damage or hybrid Unkillable block damage team, is that you don't need a GEO. So guys, it's up to you. If you want to run a killable Iron Twins team, that is no block damage and no Unkillable, then you're gonna need a GEO. Okay? Once again, if you want to run a killable Iron Twins team, you're gonna need a GEO. I mean, at least for stage 15. Now, if you plan to run an unkillable or block damage team for the Iron Twins, now you don't need a GEO. So it's gonna be up to you. It's either GEO or unkillable and block damage. But no, you can't really have no GEO and no unkillable and no block damage and stage 15. It doesn't really work that way. At least for 99.9% of players out there without insane champs and insane gear. The gearing on this champs is literally the easiest thing in the world because all we need is certain skills to be fully booked and their speeds to be certain speeds. That's it. So do either Rashkar or Santa need to be 6-starred? No, they do not. They can be a 5-star level 1. It doesn't matter as long as their block damage or unkillable skills are fully booked out and they're the right speed, that is over 251. That is it. No ascensions, no nothing. All right, those are the only 2 things that they need. So just to show you Rashkar, yes, his speed is 251 or above, like we mentioned, and he has his A3 booked out, that is that block damage skill, and that is all we need from him. Next up, guys, are our Pain Keepers. Now, one of them is 6-star level 60 because I use that for my Bat Eater, but is it required for your Pain Keeper to be 6-star level 60? No, it is not. The only requirements for the Pain Keepers are certain speeds and their cooldown skills booked out. Just like with Rashkar or with Santa. There's only 2 things we need for them. Only 2 things. So once again, their speed, we'll talk about what all their speeds are going to need to be, but all we need are certain speeds from them, and we need to have their cooldown skills fully booked out. That is all. Only 2 things from them. So that means, guys, we don't need levels, we don't need ascensions, we don't need masteries. You can use them at level 1s. It works just fine as long as their speeds are right and this A3 is fully booked out. There is no Iron Twins comp with as little gearing or champion requirements as this comp. Now, this is my fast Pain Keeper, but what speeds do we need from our Pain Keepers? Well, we need 3 speeds from our 3 Pain Keepers. One is going to be 224, the next is going to be 223, and the one after that is going to be 222. So once again, 224, 223, and 222. And guys, we'll go through everyone's speed again once I show you the skill instructions. So if you don't quite remember them, it's okay at this point. So guys, just check out the other Pain Keepers. 3 stars unascended, and they could be level 1s and this could work. All 3 of them could be level 1s. The only reason why I have a 6-star level 60 is for my Bat Eater comp. That's the only reason. But 3 level 1 Pain Keepers would work just fine, completely unascended. Once again, all we need is this A3 fully booked out for all of them, and they all need to have those right speeds, 224, 223, and 222. Now guys, I didn't mention the DPS, but if you're running the Santa comp, then your best choice for DPS would be GEO if you have them. So just because you're running Unkillable doesn't mean you're not going to use your GEO, even though GEO's not required like he is for those killable comps, okay? So once again, if you're running the Santa triple Pain Keeper comp, yes, GEO is going to be your best option. But is he required? No. You can use literally any DPS because you cannot die. So just to illustrate this, we're going with Armiger as our DPS because he has an enemy max HP skill. That does big damage. It's on a book 2-turn cooldown, plus those Pain Keepers are going to keep on cooling down the skill. So the vast majority of his attacks are going to be this enemy max HP skill. But that's the cool thing about using so many Pain Keepers. Whoever your DPS is, if their cooldown skill is the hard-hitting skill, then they'll be able to use them so often because those Pain Keepers are constantly reducing the cooldowns. So the speed of your DPS is going to be 225. So we're going to have our block damage or unkillable at 251 or above. Next up is going to be our DPS at 225. And after that is going to be our 3 pain keepers at 224, 223, and 222. Now, of course, for your DPS, you're going to build in crit rate, crit damage, and whatever stat their damage is based on. So it's not simply getting the right speeds for your DPS, though that's the most important part. But after that, yes, you're going to need to build in those damage stats like crit damage, crit rate, and as I mentioned, whatever stat their damage is based on. Next up, guys, let's go through the skill instructions. Now, since they're not in the post, I had to just fiddle with things and come up with the right skill instructions to make this completely full auto. But if you use these skill instructions, yes, we're looking at a full auto team. So for Cernic or Roshcard, make sure to turn on their A3 like you see here as the first priority and turn off both of their A2s. Now for your DPS, try to avoid using any turn meter increasing skills, so turn those off. But if you're using Armiger here, make sure Later Rest is the #1 choice for him, or else he won't use it unless the boss is close to death. And we want him to use it as often as possible. Now for these first 2 pain keepers, that is the 2 fastest pain keepers at 224 and 223, we want their skill instructions like you see here. So they're gonna start off with a Spectacular Sweep, both of them. But the priorities for everybody are going to be the same, all 3 pain keepers. So this combat tactics is always going to be the first priority, followed by Spectacular Sweep here as the second priority. But the 2 fastest pain keepers are going to start off with Spectacular Sweep here. You see, they both look exactly the same. So the skill they're starting off with is Spectacular Sweep. But once we get to the slowest pain keeper, the first skill that they start off with is going to be Combat Tactics. Okay, so 2 of the pain keepers are going to start off with the A2, while 1 of the pain keepers is going to start off with the A3 here. Even though the priorities, the #1 and the #2, are the same for all 3 pain keepers. Now, can you use Ninja as your DPS? I'm sure a lot of you guys are going to ask this. Well, maybe, but remember, his A1 increases his turn meter, so you guys are going to have to figure out a different speed tune for Ninja. So can you use them? I mean, potentially, but you guys are gonna have to figure out the particular speeds of everybody with like an Iron Twin speed calculator or something like that, because ideally you want to avoid DPSs that boost their own turn meter. Now guys, let's just quickly go over everyone's speed. So as far as your block damage or your unkillable champ, you want them at 251 or above, because basically you want to be a little bit faster than the boss, which is running at 250 for stage 15. Now for your DPS, you want them at 225. For your first pain keeper, that is your fastest pain keeper, 224. Then your second fastest pain keeper, 223. Then your last pain keeper, 222. So once again, 251 or above, 225, 224, 223, and 222. So guys, as I mentioned, this is completely full auto. All you need to do is just click battle, come back in a few minutes, and the boss is beat. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this budget unkillable or block damage guide for the Iron Twins Stage 15. I don't know of any unkillable or block damage comps for the Iron Twins Stage 15 with such low gear or champion requirements. You can literally use 5 level 1 champions, 3 of which are rare, right, in our Pain Keepers, and beat this boss. I mean, it'll take you a while, but still, you can beat this boss with 5 level 1s with nothing gear, as you can see, just getting the speeds. There is no cheaper team than this. Yes, we need the block damage. Yes, we need the unkillable, but still, find a lower gear requirement or a lower champion requirement unkillable or block damage team. I dare you. They're not out there. This is it, guys. And before I leave you guys, yes, I was pulling shards to get some extra pain keepers because I didn't have those level 1 pain keepers. All I had was my pain keeper for my bad eater comp. So I was pulling void shards randomly, and guess what happened? I'm sure you guys can guess. Yes, it happened. I actually got a crazy. It's so crazy. I was just trying to get pain keepers, and all of a sudden I got a Lego. No, this is not the test server. This is my main account. So this is absolutely insane. And if I put her in this team, oh yeah, we're shaving minutes off this comp. Are we talking GEO speeds? No way, but still pretty freaking fast. All right, guys, make sure to let me know what you think of all this in the comments. So thanks for watching. And if you guys haven't yet, like, subscribe, and share. Turn on all notifications. Stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.